So it's May 31st here today, and I'm kind of chilling out this afternoon in the shade. My landlord and his duper here messing around in the yard. I can't get anything done outside. It's too nice to be inside. So I thought I'd take a little trip down Nostalgia Lane. Oh, I meant to flip the phone around so that things weren't reversed. Anyways, this book was published originally in 1998, and at the time was the standard for the whole thing is the study of sociopathy, or psychopathy here as the title reads. Now, something I noticed at the time as I was making a study of sociopathy, that, well, this book, there's a whole bunch of different authors and studies. The Danes were very big in studying sociopathy at the time and in the decades preceding this publication. And Dr. Robert Hare, H-A-R-E, here in Canada, was a world-renowned expert in the field at the time. Now, I could find several examples of this in the book that I could read to you, but I'm just going to touch on a couple of them here. Because every one of these authors, and this is a heavy read, they write for each other, right? A guy like me with a grade 9 education, there's a lot of big words in here. They're trying to impress each other, but regardless. They all come to the same conclusion. They begin to study sociopathy or psychopathy, whichever term you prefer. And they all come to the same conclusion. And some of them are more hesitant about coaching their terms than others. So this kind of quote here can often be found throughout this book. It doesn't matter who wrote this chapter. It is interesting and consistent with the commonly held belief in Western psychology and psychiatry that the shamans and healers Murphy interviewed in the Inuit and Yoruba communities, the Inuit, and often there's reference to Eskimo, same thing, whichever one's politically correct. I don't think either of them are right now, but it doesn't matter. I'm not sure who the Yorubas are. I think they were a South American tribe that we would call primitive. Anyways, the Inuit and Yorubas communities did not believe that this condition was amendable to change, the condition being sociopathy. Historically, the Inuits' management strategy for Kunglangeta, that was their word for a sociopath, was to invite the sufferer, is the terminology this individual uses, to go hunting, and when no one was looking, to push him off the ice. And throughout this book and several others I've written, again, the psychologists go in with good intentions. Oh, I'm going to figure out how to cure sociopaths, and they come to the conclusion they can't, and they have no place in society. Oh, and I didn't keep my mark on the other page, did I? Oh, I had my thumb in there. Ah, here we go. Actually, I found it. Anyways, a lot of these authors, I'll call them, of these articles and studies, quote the Inuit and other primitive societies. The Inuit had a word that means sociopath. They had a word that means incorrigible, and they had a word that means push them off the ice floe. So this individual here expresses it in a slightly different fashion. I have no wish to dehumanize people when I say that those who purposely endanger others in our streets, parks, schools, even our homes, are qualitatively different from the rest of us. I care less and less about why they're not the same as the rest of us. The enemy is at our door. Most of our energy must be diverted to immediate defense, not merely to studying his motivations. There is no reasonable ethic which requires that we treat him as we treat others. Indeed, to do so is foolish. If we treat him as if he were like us, we will continue to fail, and he will continue to take from us. Now, my point is, the globalists, the WEF, the elitists, the parasites, the devils from Davos, whatever we want to call them, whatever terminology you prefer, they're all sociopaths. Absolutely. How can anyone sit there and say, well, with any conscience, human conscience at all, and say, well, we only need 500 million useless eaters on the face of the earth, so that means we have to exterminate 7.5 billion people. Well, I fly around in my jet eating Kobe beef, and they eat crickets. The Sociopath Next Door. If you're new to the channel, there's a good book. The Sociopath Next Door by Martha Stroud. She was a psychologist and head of the psychology department at Princeton University, I believe. And the Sociopath Next Door, unlike this great thing, it was written for the common man and is very readable, and I've recommended it before. I know if you're following any of this on the channel, you've heard it all before. But my point is, they're all sociopaths. I was just talking about Pablo Rodriguez with his lovely hair and his vainglorious narcissism. They think that they're entitled and that we are less than humans to them, when in fact they themselves are not humans. These are the kids who were skinning the neighbor's cat when they were 10 years old. So anyways, I said I was going to have some fun on the channel. Not really a fun topic, is it? Well, anyways,